Hello, and welcome back to the NoScore Review Show. I'm your host, Nick Green, and today I am joined by Jake Sturkenboom. Welcome back, Jake.
Nick, have I been on every 2023 show so far?
You've been on every single 2023 show.
We're batting
so
1,000, as some would say.
Batting 1,000. No sports references, please, on the show. I refuse. Right off the bat.
I meant to do that one.
Back. Yeah, at least you meant to do that one. And also joining me is Shay Martin. Shay, welcome back to the NoScore Review Show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Not so
making
excited
your
to talk
2023 debut.
Yes. Super pumped.
Very exciting. Today we are reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is the Phase 5 premiere, I guess you could call it. Phase 4 has wrapped up officially, and now we're on to a new phase. And it's a start for sure. We're going to get into our general thoughts for the movie. This will be no spoiler territory. You'll get our no spoiler thoughts first, and then we'll get into the deep dive spoiler talk later on in the episode. We'll make that very clear for you if you don't want to know anything about the film going in. But this will be spoiler-free general thoughts. We'll start with you, Shay. What are your thoughts on Quantumania?
I mean, overall, somewhat disappointed, but also not the most. Personally, I've never really been a huge Ant-Man and the Wasp fan. I like him in all the Avengers films. Like, I think he has a funny character, but as a standalone, there just was very limited depth all around. Yeah, there was like the humor fell flat for me, which is fairly new for MCU. The humor, the character development, the lines, the overall arc or very lack thereof, in my opinion. Not the strongest start for Phase 5, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the Marvel formula has started to wear thin on me finally. I think for the most part, when it comes to the movies, I always got like more like a pretty like even amount of like chuckles out of me throughout the film, but like this whole film I was like just stone faced the entire time. I'm like, this is just the same formula over and over again. I don't find any of this funny. It was I enjoyed the Ant-Man films for what they were, especially the first one, because it definitely felt more distinct in comparison to most of the films that had come out. It was very much a like comedy heist movie first and a superhero movie second. Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of got diluted a little bit in that formula, but it was still like small scale, I would say, especially like if you look at like the timeline of where that movie is, like you post-credit scene aside, that film is like very small scale in comparison to like Thor Ragnarok and the Guardians films and like the Avengers films that had come out recent, like Civil War around that time. It was still very lighthearted and comedic, which was great, which was the focus. But now like all of the films and TV shows have this quippy dialogue and like the nonstop comedy and like constantly undermining the seriousness of some of the films and shows. So yeah, it's starting to wear thin for me. Jake, how about you? General thoughts?
Exact same thing. It's just like it's starting to feel like the same thing over and over again. And with this being hyped up as, oh, we're gonna introduce this new person in the Ant-Man series is gonna be big now. This is a big scale movie. This is very important. It without getting into spoilers, it by the time everything's wrapped up, nothing really feels more so important. I feel like even something in like even a broad introduction like in Loki was what I personally think is a better introduction to Kang. Personally, this is where they actually, name him, kind of you kind of see who he is.
Yeah.
But I can't do this because this isn't spoiler time, but I just feel like there's a big cop out taken, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a theme throughout this next, I don't know, however many years of this saga.
Yeah,
But
at
yeah,
least the next two, right? Because like I think phase 6 starts in 2025 or something, which
yeah.
is when we get the Avengers films, the next Avengers films.
So if I'm just gonna wrap it all up into one big ball, disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like, especially kind of taking into consideration like the trailers that they released, they definitely gave the film some expectations of like gravitas, and like this is kind of be maybe not like Infinity War level, but like maybe like Civil War, I would
Yeah,
say, like level of like serious tone. We're introducing our new big bad, like all of that news and press came out of like Kang is the next Thanos of the MCU, right? So we were kind of all expecting like, okay, this is going to be pretty like serious, but it was still just that same Marvel formula. It wasn't even like the same sort of tone as like the Ant-Man films. Like it felt like it was an Ant-Man film second, and a
Hmm.
Kang film and like Quantumania film first. Um, and like going kind of back to what you said, Jake, we'll get into it more with spoilers, but like it just kind of left me with more questions than answers
yeah,
at the end of the film. And we can get into the specifics of that later. But yeah, it was just like an inconsistent tone again. And I don't feel like it almost swung in the other direction of what phase 4 did, where they were laying a ton of groundwork for the future of the MCU, introducing a lot of like a ton of new characters when you think about it, um, and just like laying the basis, because like nothing really happened in terms of overarching plot setup. Like we still don't know what's going on with the dormant Eternal on Earth, right? There's just all of these new characters that are like all over the place doing their own things, but none of it has really congealed together, which is like fine. Like you can do that. But then when we go in this direction, it's like, okay, now we're only setting up the big bad, but we haven't really made this like contained Ant-Man story or like compelling Ant-Man story at all. It felt very secondary in terms of uh, like their priorities. They were just focusing on getting Kang there, but then at the same time, like we said, and we'll get into it with spoilers, it still doesn't even seem like they succeeded at this very moment. We'll see how it like pans out with the rest of the like phase 5 and 6 down the line. Like it might have a bigger payoff once we have the whole picture, but at the moment it's just like we're still getting these like bite-sized pieces being fed to us. It's like, okay, we still don't know really what's going on. So yeah. um I would just kind of say, as like sort of a wrap up of our general thoughts, um it honestly kind of feels like a um, Disney Plus watch.
yeah,
Like if it wasn't
yeah,
for wanting to stay on top of the MCU day and date, if only just to avoid spoilers and whatnot, then I would truly just say just wait until it comes out on Disney Plus, especially if you're not um, like that in the loop with all the MCU stuff, or if you're even not just on the internet that much and you don't see yourself getting these big spoilers revealed for you. That's kind of where I
yeah,
land with this one.
yeah,
There's not a
Yeah.
ton to retain, really. I think my highlight for non-spoiler stuff would say Kang, Jonathan Majors, was a great presence, and I have complete faith in him going forward for the next couple of years of the MCU. I'm really intrigued to see what he does with the role, because it seems to offer a lot of range, a ton of range for him to play around with. Um, and even just seeing these two roles now with the He Who Remains from Loki and the Conqueror, it was a nice range to see him play in. As far as like plot details go and MCU setup, it's a bit of a question mark, but I really enjoyed Jonathan Majors. The rest of the cast was like serviceable. Like I don't think I hated anyone necessarily. And I mean, that kind of goes for this whole film in general. It's just like felt very lukewarm, right?
Mhm.
It was just like no super big standouts on that side. So yeah, did you guys want to add any sort of like pros or cons that you had non-spoiler wise, or do you want to just jump in?
I I think I'm thinking about it right now. I'm just trying to think, what is there to spoil even? I don't even think there's
Right?
much. I don't even think there is much to spoil. Like
I would
if you look
say
at the
the like
trailer,
the big twist at the end, just
Much
how
yeah,
it
less so.
ends, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but still, I feel like I don't know. I'll just say if you're like a casual MCU fan, you just want to go see a superhero movie. It'll get the job done for you. I wouldn't pay
Yeah,
probably again to go see it. It's definitely a
Mm-mm.
Disney Plus watch, if anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I will kind of err on the side of I think it looked good. I don't quite land in the camp of all the people that are bashing how the quantum realm looked. I thought it actually looked pretty good and diverse enough. Like, I think you got enough variety in the quantum realm for it to feel like a distinct place. It did have a couple rocky moments where it was like, okay, yeah, they're on a green screen, or like
Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
holding nothing, right, or looking at
Yeah.
nothing. But I think I don't think the majority of the film was like that. I think there was maybe a couple scenes here and there. I thought it looked good. Um, so yeah. Well, all right. If you guys have nothing else for the non-spoiler section, this is your final warning, audience.
Get out.
We are going to get into spoiler territory. So if you don't want anything revealed, click off now, pause the video, go see the film, come back. Or if you don't care, then stick around. Here's our spoiler review. So, Jake, we'll start
Yes.
with you.
Yeah.
Highlights and lowlights for the film. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the highlights. Just we'll keep it short and sweet. I always appreciate Paul Rudd. Whenever Paul Rudd's on my screen,
Totally.
I like, of course, a lot of it is lackluster, but I just enjoy Paul Rudd on my screen. Like, I'd say,
Mhm.
for example, the scene where it's all the Paul Rudds and there's like the one Baskin Robbins. Like, I like that. I love that one character that was like, "Oh, I have holes now." See,
Yeah.
like little things like that.
I loved the like Paul Rudd's comedic timing is just
It's
fantastic.
it's
Like
very
I
good.
think probably one of my favorite like comedic moments of the film that almost got a chuckle out of me was like when Paul was like, or when Scott was like counting his holes in his head. He's like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was like such a greatly timed moment, and yeah, Paul Rudd is just fantastic in the role.
Yeah, I'd also say even times like at the end of the movie when he's like, "Wait, did I just like unleash a evil person on the world who's gonna come kill everyone?" It's
Is
probably
he
not
dead?
a it's probably not a
Just
problem. I
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Any other Jonathan Majors you mentioned, he's great in the Kang role.
Mhm.
I'll get into the negatives of that when we get there.
Yeah.
But I'd say there's definitely a problem I have with Kang at the moment. But
Mhm.
as for
Yep.
positives, I enjoy Paul Rudd. And Jonathan Majors' performance, and he's been put in a pretty hard spot. So we'll see how he does with that.
Yes, we shall see. Um, Shay, do you want to go next? Some highlights for you from the film?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jake. Paul Rudd is Paul Rudd on screen. You get exactly what you pay for, or
Hmm.
for what you expect with him.
Yep.
I also really enjoyed that kind of climax scene of like the a million Paul Rudds. I did. Okay, no highlights. Sorry.
We just want to tear this film apart.
Yeah. um, by far my favorite character was the little jelly thing that was concerned
Yeah.
about his holes. He was the only thing I believe in the entire 2 hours that kind of brought a smile to my face.
Hmm.
Um I also thought that the actor for Cassie Lang, Catherine Newton, I
Yeah.
believe.
Mhm.
I think she was pretty good. Like,
Mhm.
I know there's not a whole lot of range given. That's the problem is that I feel like all of the actors and all of the performances were doing as well as they could have for what they were given.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah.
I think they didn't give her a ton to do. I did like the little back and forth between her and Scott of like uh what was the line she said? It was like something like just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening or whatever. I
Mm.
would have liked to see that kind of play more into the film as a whole. They don't do a ton with it. It's just kind of like, oh, there's a bunch of battle scenes. They free all of the freedom fighters, and it's just this very two-dimensional, just like climactic big CGI fight. There's not like a lot of depth to that whole like arc, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
I did find that kind of strange that I was wondering throughout the movie, I'm like, is this supposed to be like the overall major theme of, just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening
yeah.
line, especially that like it opened up with kind of like a casual like a cab joke with the
Hmm.
police and stuff, which
Yeah.
it did bring a smile to my face. And then you kind of you saw the themes like a little bit referenced
Yeah.
throughout with all the politics in the quantum realm, but
Mhm.
it felt
Very surface
very
level, right?
extremely surface level, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's arguably a little maybe not tone deaf, but if you're gonna make a comment like that, go more into it.
Yeah, lean into it,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
if your priority is setting up Kang, okay, that's fine. Just stick with that. But like as soon as you start introducing all these different themes and plot points and whatnot and character motivations, then it just gets muddy and then you don't get a fulfilling film, right?
exactly. I didn't feel like a whole lot was at stake. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. But highlights. Yeah, my last thing I would have to say, just like you two already said, Jonathan Majors was amazing. Arguably, maybe the best part about the film.
Yep.
I will probably get into this a bit later, but one of my biggest disappointments, however, is I don't know if I missed something or if it's just been a long time since I've seen Loki. I'm very confused and a little bit I feel like I'm missing something on what Kang's motive is.
Hmm.
Um Thanos made a lot of sense to me. In some ways, I kind of agreed with him. I love villains where I'm like, okay, I kind of see your point and I see why
Yep.
you're so behind this. Again, I might have missed something or it's been a while, but I was looking and listening for motive and I wasn't getting it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think at least from like marketing, from a marketing standpoint, and from all the press releases and whatnot, interviews with Kevin Feige, it definitely seemed like it Quantumania didn't wasn't trying to aim quite to the scale maybe of Infinity War, but it definitely felt like they were trying to set up Kang in Quantumania the same way they set up Thanos in Infinity War, right? Because Infinity, like before Infinity War, we had like Thanos was restricted to like post credit scenes. He was in Guardians, sure, but he was like a background character. He wasn't the focus at all. Um, so they were able to nail Thanos's not only his background and his motivation, but his entire arc. Like Thanos is basically the protagonist in Infinity War, right? Like we follow his hero's journey effectively of getting all of the stones throughout all of Infinity War. And I can't help but feel like that could have maybe been a great template for Kang, right? Like, um, yeah, it's I was kind of in the same camp as you, Shay, of like misremembering probably uh what we were left off with in the end of Loki. Um this kind of plays into the bigger problem of like the sheer volume of Marvel stuff that comes out. So it's like it's a lot to keep track of. Um but yeah, I was just like, I think they kind of touched on it a little bit in this film of like he discovers the multiverse, he goes to the end of time or whatever, and he finds out what happens, and it's very, very bad. So he wants to put an end to that. And to do that, he apparently has to go and destroy all of the other Kangs, and by result, also destroy all of the other timelines. and then I think that kind of weaved into just a like revenge plot because they banished him to the quantum realm. Um, but like we've kind of been tiptoeing around for this whole review, it's like by the end of the film, it's like, okay, well, that kind of gets resolved to an extent, right? So it's like, okay, so then where are we left off with now going forward?
Was that
Um,
final shot in the movie supposed to be funny, or I don't, with the
the
cake?
inner monologue, I think it was supposed to be funny,
Yeah.
yes. um, a lot of the jokes are supposed to be funny, and they're they're just not. Um,
May I add to this whole like who do we know what Kang kind of is or whatever? So in Loki, I forget what the organization's name is, but I think they're like the
TVA,
timekeepers
the
or
TVA, Time
yeah,
Variance
the
Authority.
TVA.
Mhm.
So yeah, at the end of Loki, you remember in that I think it's the post credit scene. Um, Owen Wilson's character Mobius, correct? I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm
Mobius.
losing track of everyone. He
You are
doesn't
correct.
he doesn't he
How
doesn't
dare
know who
you?
Loki is or whatever. But in the TVA, there's that big statue of Kang. So I'm thinking, okay, he fought the exiled one, who
Mhm,
probably messed with the multiverse or whatever. But Kang is kind of the leader of the TVA and all time.
mhm.
So just to iron that out a little bit.
Yeah, I think, well, like, so He Who Remains, who was the like the primary Kang in Loki, right?
Yeah.
And he was the mask behind the three I don't remember what those guys were called, but the Watchers or whatever, not the
Yeah.
Watchers, those guys are different. But he was behind those like three masked guys that were just androids or whatever. But then, yeah, that post credit scene, I think, might be a different Kang, maybe like a one closer to the Conqueror, who took over from the He Who Remains or whatever in that timeline, maybe. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully, Loki will answer a lot of these questions that we have now from Loki season 1 and
Yeah.
Quantumania.
Mhm.
Um, but just putting a little pin in that and kind of jumping back onto highlights and performances, I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was a great addition as well. I think I actually would have preferred more with her and
Mhm.
Kang. Like I would have been totally happy with, because the film starts with the crashing of Kang's ship, right? I would have totally been okay with them just like doing the entire first act of Janet and Kang just like getting to know each other and like rebuilding the ship and everything, and then we get to learn a little bit more about Kang, a little bit more about Janet, right? I think like maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Michelle Pfeiffer's performance, but like the way the movie starts is a little like hollow. Like they get right into things, so much so that it's a lot of half baked like plot setup and like character motivation setup. Like the whole Janet being like she never wants to talk about the quantum realm because she like did some bad shit and she has awful memories of there. It's like, okay, but like could you not have even been like, look, I don't want to talk about this is a bad thing from my past, but whatever you do, do not open up a portal to the quantum realm, right? Like it feels a little ham-fisted a bit
It
to
was.
me. But I mean, on the flip side of that is I do kind of appreciate the fact that they get things so quickly uh going, and they're just straight into the quantum realm within like the first 10 to 15 minutes basically. The way they do it is a little rocky for me, but yeah, just
Definitely.
Michelle Pfeiffer was probably like my second favorite performance of the film. um her whole towards the like final act scene with her and Kang when they meet up again was really great. I would
Mhm.
have loved more in-depth work with both of them together. Um so yeah, other highlights, feel free to jump in, either of you.
Michelle Pfeiffer
Um
also just gets better with age. That's what I have
yeah,
to
I mean,
say.
yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. The possibility storm sequence was really cool. That was a fun way. I saw I was watching a video review of this film, and they touched on how it was a great blend of like a fun set piece intertwined with like character motivation, because it was really cool like seeing all the different Scots and everything, and then you like keep zooming out and it's like they're basically ants, right? But then they, right before they like finally break from their collective panic attack, they're like, oh, we're doing this for Cassie. So they all unify back together, and it was a great moment of clarity for Scott, which was awesome. Moments like that I wish they would uh take a little bit more time to work on and perfect, and so we can have more of those moments where we get these big scale uh set pieces and action scenes and whatnot, but then they're also like completely fully injected with like character, right? um I think Modoc was fun.
Oh
I
no.
No, you didn't like Modoc?
I hated
Okay.
MODOK. I'm so sorry.
So
Are
okay,
we gonna officially get into the
That
highlights?
I
I mean,
think
the
this
lowlights.
I think
Hey,
this will
no.
be our transition point. This was
MODOK
a
is the
highlight
shit.
for me. I think surface level, I liked Modoc. I didn't like how they just kept making a joke out of him of like Darren, and it's like, haha, okay, yeah, you do that joke like 3 times, we get it. His name
Yeah.
is Darren. Um, I thought I thought his motivation made sense to me. I thought his like origin and everything made sense. He is a ridiculous villain, so it's like I can see how they wouldn't want to like keep him around for like he would look absolutely fucking ridiculous flying around New York and shit. Um but and the like little weird redemption arc at the very end was very odd. Um but like in maybe it's more so in theory than in practice of I enjoyed Modoc. I thought his like design looked really cool, like his helmet and everything and all of his weapons. His face and whatnot, it was like a little odd, but yes.
Have y'all
Both of
seen
you,
like okay, to sorry, quickly go off that. Have y'all seen
sure.
like Shark Boy and Lava Girl?
Yes.
Yes, I have seen
He was
those memes.
yeah.
Mr.
Oh, are they
Electricidad
memes?
or whatever.
Yeah, Electricidad. Oh, okay, that
Yeah.
was already created. That's already a
Yeah,
joke. Okay.
he
'Cause
absolutely looks like that, though. I completely agree. This is like a $200 million budget Shark Boy and Lava Girl film, basically.
and it looks about the same,
It looks
honestly.
about the same, really.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, okay. We're gonna get into lowlights now, and you guys can start with ripping
Yes.
into Modoc. So,
Yes.
here we go. Lowlights. Shay, let's start with you.
Okay, well, MODOK, I went into the theater not being super excited, but I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna keep my expectations low. I tend to hype things up too much.
Hmm.
The trailer did nothing for me. The trailer was like the epitome of like MCU formula for
Hmm.
me as well.
Yeah.
When I guess I was having some issues like getting lost in the story because there was also like obviously science fiction is fiction, but the thing that I really loved about Infinity War and all of that is like it's loosely based off of, like relativity, time travel. Like it's all very like theoretical. Like it's
Hmm.
still obviously fiction and I'm not saying like it needs to make scientific sense,
Yeah.
but it was something that I respected and it kind of introduces certain yeah, anyways,
I
when
see where
they're
you're coming from. I think they're like starting to get a little too fast and loose with their rules, especially in terms of like the quantum realm.
there felt like there was no rules. That's a good way of
Yeah,
putting it.
they're using the rules when they want it to make sense, and then they're ignoring the rules when they don't want to like figure things out or think about it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, like even when they started falling into the quantum realm, I'm like, how the hell did they all end up in the same spot? Like,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
impossible. Gravity would be different.
Yeah.
Like, why do all of these, well, not all of them, some of the like cultures or different kind of communities that they had, some of them actually felt somewhat original. Some of them were like borrowing very heavily from our own planet's people,
Right.
which I'm not sure how I felt about. I don't know. There was just the world didn't feel real for me to buy into. But when Modoc came on, that was when I realized I'm like, this is a terrible fucking movie. I
uh,
yeah.
I'm glad you got that moment of clarity in the movie theater.
I know.
What a shining beacon of like, yeah, MODOK is like the epitome. Like, oh man, why am I here?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe like I guess he was supposed to be super ridiculous. That was part of the joke.
Yeah, he is like probably one of the most inherently ridiculous comic book characters. He's literally just a floating head. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I think they could have gone without him.
I think to like kind of give the benefit of the doubt, I think the Quantum Realm was a perfect setting for such a ridiculous villain.
Definitely.
Like how I kind of said earlier, it's just so freaking bonkers to even think of how they would have tried to incorporate him into like normal Earth, right? Like the second best like setting would have been like space fighting against the Guardians or Thor or something, right? Like he's just so ridiculous. Other lowlights, Shay?
I definitely do. They're not coming to mind at the moment.
Okay.
So
Jake, you want to jump in?
On to Jake.
Let's do this. Okay. I've never been more ready and prepared in a NoScore show before. Number 1.
Here we go.
What was the reasoning behind casting a new Cassie? I would like to know this because it is a different actress from Endgame. Yes. This is true.
I think. Do you actually want an answer to that, or do you want to just?
Is there a legitimate reason why?
It's probably just a scheduling conflict.
I think it just literally just boiled down to a Hollywood conflict of schedules.
Because from what I read, that she found out that she wasn't that she was in this movie once everyone else found out on social media, and she was like, "Yeah,
interesting." Then if that's true, then that's shitty.
Yeah, so that's the first.
She should have at least been like offered the part or like an audition or something.
Exactly. Backpacking off of Cassie. How does she just know all this now? She's just like, yeah, so I built a portal to the quantum realm, and yeah, it's the thing that you guys had to run out of a van a couple of years back, but you know what? I perfected it down to this one little thing. Also, I made a suit and I have the same powers as you, but I don't know how to punch correctly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you gotta, get big and then punch at the same time. You gotta press and punch. I'm like, goodness. Okay. Anyways,
there's a lot of smart kids in the MCU now. There's just so many like geniuses with superpowers now.
But even
Williams.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the people who were like, oh, she has 5 years to learn all this. Okay, where's this Cassie in Endgame? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's post blip, and she knows all this stuff now, and it's just kind of really confusing. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing, MODOK. Yeah, my theater was laughing every time he was on the screen. Like, not even after the original reveal. Like, everyone was like losing their minds at how stupid looking. And maybe that's what they're going for. He has to be stupid looking, but like 30 minutes later, he'll just pop up out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, okay. He just like you know in Step Brothers, you know that scene when they're in the job interview and like, yeah, one of the guys lets out like a long fart, and he's like, the guy interviewing him is like, okay, the tuxedos are kind of fucked up now. For me, it was like every time I saw MODOK, I was like, okay, MODOK's kind of fucked up now.
You kind of had the same moment of clarity as Shay, just a little bit different.
Yeah, and like there'd be so many scenes that had like that was building emotional that was building like a heavy emotional thing. And then MODOK was like, "Hey, I'm Darren. Don't be a dick."
Yeah.
God, just
it was just child's humor. Like it felt like very childish.
Which I guess is what the MCU was going for. Sadly.
It's just these very, very like lowbrow, low effort, bottom
very
of the barrel humor. It's like, just don't be a dick. Oh, I can just not be a dick. Okay, all right, and that's supposed to be like compelling and or funny.
Yeah, he said penis. Anyways, then my last.
Okay, to be fair, the word dick is pretty funny.
Okay,
in the right context.
Yeah. And then my final thing, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but taking these cop outs, and I think this is going to be a theme in the multiverse saga, is is variants of people. So this post-credit scene shows that, oh, there's so many variants of Kang, so it's fine. We can kill off this one of however many hundred or thousands or infinite amount there are. I feel like that's going to be the biggest cop out in the MCU now. Someone can die, but no, it's a variant. They're back and they're alive. So now, like, it's really hard for me to be invested when at the back of your mind you can be like, oh, it's just a variant. There'll be another one soon.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna.
yeah, Shay, you go first.
I'm just gonna quickly say, and anybody who's listening, I am a huge MCU fan. I've never done this before, but I walked out before the end credit scene.
Ooh.
I
Oh,
was
like
already
before the
done.
last one or before both?
Oh, I didn't know that there was both.
There was
Okay, so
two.
Yeah,
both.
there's two. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't. I just as soon as it went dark and the first credit came on, I left.
You're Gonzo.
The
Wow.
women's national soccer team was playing. I knew they were halfway through. My partner was waiting
Fair enough.
downstairs for me. I was like, I got more important things to do. But
Yeah, true.
That's fair.
I guess just to put it in a little bow. So the first post-credit scene is like there's a ton of Kang variants, and like, oh yeah, the exiled one is gone. And they're like, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and then they also like mention it's like these or like they're getting closer to understanding the multiverse, and they're referencing the Avengers. And then I don't remember the specific like way they say it, but it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to go after them and like stop them from doing that, otherwise we're gonna lose control or something to that effect. Another noteworthy part of that post-credit scene is they're all teleporting into the Council of Kangs the same way Reed Richards teleported into the Illuminati in Doctor Strange, which is interesting.
Something.
Whether that will actually amount to anything, or if it's just another like, remember that?
Yeah.
That's the same thing. But then the second post-credit sequence, Jake, do you want to give that
Yeah.
away?
So it's like pretty classic times. I don't know if they showed like what the year was.
Times.
Classic times,
Like
medieval times. It's not
days.
medieval times, but
Classic
let's
times.
say
It's
early
like
1900s.
1800s, like
Yeah.
late 1800s. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what part of the world are we talking about?
Like
America. It's
America.
like crank cameras.
Think about like Einstein giving a presentation, but
Yeah.
it's a variant of Kang explaining time, and it's Mobius and Loki in the audience saying like, "Oh, that's him."
Okay.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Copy
Basically,
that.
Loki and Mobius have traveled to a point in time in a different dimension where Kang, or a variant of Kang, is presenting his knowledge of his discovery of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kang was like a professor, if I'm understanding
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah.
Yes,
He
that
essentially
was
looked like Einstein.
yeah. I think this was also touched on in the Loki season finale. He goes into a whole exposition dump of how he discovered the multiverse, and that was his
Right.
whole motivation behind the he who remains, like trying to get control, because he discovers the multiverse, and then he travels through the multiverse and like meets all these other Kangs, but then he I think he meets the Conqueror or something to that effect, and huge like fight breaks out between the Conqueror and the rest of the Council of Kangs, and then they end up like banishing him, and he who remains finally tries to get control through the TVA, so they've got one continuous timeline to work with. And I think He Who Remains also mentioned that he as well saw like the end of all time, basically, and it was like just this huge war between all of the Kangs, and that's what ends everything. So yeah, if we're gonna get into that, it's so like based off my impression, I haven't watched Loki since it came out, but based off my memory of the finale, I could have swore He Who Remains was setting up the fact that the Conqueror is the big bad Kang that you need to watch out for. Like He Who Remains is like the civil kind of institutionalized evil that you kind of need to live with. He's like the lesser of two evils, and the Conqueror is the one you got to watch out for. So that just leads into this overarching problem that was reinforced, well, not reinforced, but established with Quantumania of like, okay, Conqueror is the big bad, so we got to watch out for him. But then we can kind of get into the final act of it all, where Kang is seemingly defeated. I will like give a little benefit of the doubt of like an off-screen death can and usually does mean he's not dead,
Mhm.
but that doesn't necessarily make things better. It's just kind of like two paths where it's like, okay, they're not, neither of them are great, but it might be the lesser of two because I would prefer to see more of the Conqueror. Like I could have, I thought they were going to set up the Thanos for the next couple of phases, and establishing a single Kang feels like the right way to do that, where like it's a consistent character. We know their motivations. We get to learn more about them as the movies progress and the shows progress, right? But with this thrown in wrench in the works, it's like, okay, well, he's dead now. So what was the point of this whole movie that we just watched? And then what exactly is going to happen going forward? We still don't really understand that. Is the concept of Kang just the enemy that the Avengers are going to have to face? It's just feels very muddy still. There's more questions that are arising rather than being answered. Um, what else? Yeah, that's just kind of the biggest problem I think I have with this film is it doesn't really give us a great waypoint going forward of where we're going. Hopefully, Loki season 2 helps with that. But yeah, we'll see. I did really, this kind of goes back into highlights a little bit. That final fight between Scott and Kang, I thought was fantastic. Like, I thought that was better, like, than any other action scene we got in the entire film combined. Like
Whoa.
that whole army battle, like I was like, okay, well, whatever, man. This is just a big war that's happening. I don't really care that much. But the Scott and Kang fight, and then Hope jumping in back through the portal too was fantastic. Like I thought that was
Mhm.
great. And then like they decide to destroy the portal so Kang can't get through, and then Scott and Hope are stuck in the quantum realm. Like I thought that was going to be such an interesting and compelling way to end that film, but then the portal just opens back up and Kang is dead. And it's like, oh, we're all hunky dory again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not great. I did really enjoy that fight though. The more grounded and intimate you can get with these final fights between these characters, the better, I think. Um, I don't want to take up all of the time, but I also want to kind of use this to lead into another problem I had where the marketing for the film really set up this great arc for Scott, where it was the like, I don't remember if you guys uh, remember this from the trailer, but it was like the Scott uh, was like had lost time, right? And he wanted to get time back with Cassie, and to like it was setting it up in a way that I thought Scott was going to be tempted to help Kang. But then in the movie, it's just like he kind of offers Scott the chance to help, but then Scott's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then Kang just does the simple villain thing of like, okay, well, then I'm going to kill your daughter if you don't help me. It's like, okay, well, this would have been cool. Of like, this would have been a great internal conflict for Scott to have of like, I want to get this time back with my daughter, but then Kang seems to be this malevolent force that's getting set up. I don't really know his intentions behind it. Would have helped with Kang too, like this mysterious figure of like manipulating people, right?
Mhm.
But it was just a marketing ploy at the end of the day, I guess, because none of that was really what happened in the film.
I think that's a really
So
good great point. Like, arguably, Scott Lang's character is pretty flawless. He
yeah,
doesn't really fall into temptation too much.
hmm
He's just like the nice, lovable, funny guy, and as much as that's great, it's you're
it's not.
totally right. There was opportunities for his character to grow so much more depth.
hmm
Um, yeah,
Let them
definitely,
make big mistakes like that because then that's interesting to watch, right? Like maybe he
totally.
could have helped Kang, and then Kang escapes, and then it's like, oh shit! Well, now Kang's unleashed on the world, right? And it's like Scott's gonna have to deal with that whole mental gymnastics of like, oh my god, I just unleashed him on like all of time essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just not great. If you guys have anything more low light centered, jump on in.
I
This is
uh,
go ahead, Jake.
Jake, you go.
oh, I was just gonna say, I think I had my time. I kind of let
Okay.
it all out all at once. I have to agree with a lot of the stuff you said about that final fight. Good final fight, but you know what? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Shay, how
agree.
about you?
I think we kind of wrapped it up pretty well.
I think I have a couple more nitpicks I just want to throw out there.
Oh,
Pick
same.
the nits.
I have one.
Pick
Wait,
those
I have
nits.
one more left. I have
Go
one
ahead.
more.
What's the one more?
I can't find it. I can't find her role on IMDb. Who the main leader of that community that Cassie was working along
Jantara,
with?
I think her name was.
Gentora.
Jantora. Katie M.
Oh,
O'Brien was the
okay,
actress.
yes. I don't know about y'all, and I guess I will just be forever hopeful. I thought that there was chemistry building between her and Cassie.
Shay, I just want to say, I thought of you in the theater when I saw that scene. I'm like, this is a little gay romance going on right here.
I know. I was like, are they gonna finally give it to me? Are they gonna finally give it to me? No.
You just have to. I think you're starting to branch out a little bit. You need to focus all your energy on Kate Bishop and Yelena.
That's true. That's
Still
true.
waiting for Kate Bishop.
Yeah. What's the ship name for Yelena and Kate? Is it going to be like Black Widow Hawkeye or
Black
something?
what?
What?
Not Black Eye. That's definitely not going to be the ship name.
What?
What do
I don't
you?
know. I don't even know when we're going to be able to see Kate Bishop again. I don't want to hijack this whole podcast to talk about Kate Bishop because I definitely could. Um, but I know we're going to see Yelena
I got
soon.
it.
You got it?
I got
What
it.
is it?
I googled it. Bishova.
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 Okay. Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Better than anything I could come up with. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely thought about that too, Shay. Whether we'll see Gentora again or any of the I keep seeing a bunch of people being like, this was a great establisher for the quantum realm, but I'm here like, are we gonna go back to the quantum realm at any point? It feels like we're kind of wrapped up there, right? I mean, like, if we get the Kang the Conqueror again, like he's technically stuck in that core within the quantum realm still, so I guess we might go back, but I don't know. Feels pretty wrapped up to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick those nits now. It was mainly like a couple writing things. The first one was when Scott and Cassie were kidnapped by the freedom fighters, and then Gentora like says that line when the Kang soldiers show up of like, you led them right to us, but like in the theater I'm like, you captured them, what are you talking about? And then the second one was Hope when she comes and saves the day in the possibility storm. She just like knows miraculously what to do and how to help Scott in like shrinking down. She's just like, okay, we're gonna throw a bunch of discs at this thing now. It was just a little odd, but
Yeah, the
whatever.
whole thing wasn't really grounded in much logic. It
Yeah.
felt very rushed in pre-production or something. I don't know.
Another like unfortunate thing, like it's Ant-Man and the Wasp, but Hope didn't get like anything to do besides maybe that tiny bit in the final fight, right? Like it was just like
I'd
nothing,
like to see
man.
more Hope. I would like to
Right?
see a
Like
lot more Hope. Yeah.
this felt like I said this in my letterbox review, and it felt like an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie in only title. That's about it. It was very much a Kang and a Quantum Realm movie.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Any other? Yeah, more character work would have been great. All the time we spent, like I enjoyed Gentora and some of the free, like the whole alien. Like I enjoyed those, but I think I honestly would have preferred like that time dedicated to all those side characters and all these different set pieces. I would have preferred a much more smaller film and like more focus on Kang and the Ant family. Like if it was literally just focusing on Janet and Kang for like the first act, and then when the Ant Fam gets sucked into the quantum realm, then it's literally just the Ant Fam facing off against Kang. Like that would have been great to see. But it was, I think Marvel, the MCU is just getting like they're kind of just assuming audiences want to see this big spectacle and big blockbuster
Mhm.
action now, but like I think you could divert those resources much more economically when telling when telling these stories. And like both of you have said a couple times, like there was like almost no stakes, and especially at the end of the film when Kang is just gone now, and now we're left with a bunch of Kangs that will, I guess, just pop up wherever and whenever potentially. We'll see. Um, and like this is just another MCU gripe I have with a lot of projects lately. Is just like a lot of serious moments are just undermined by humor again. It's like this is a
Mhm.
very emotional scene, and it's like joke here, joke there. It's like no, just let it breathe, man. Like you don't need humor in every scene.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot. I feel like
Yeah.
let's
The
oh
last thing
sorry
I'll
Shay.
say, sorry, the last thing I'll say is like, yeah, to me, what it feels like is that there's different tiers of MCU releases coming out. And with those tiers, it's like how much effort they're actually deciding to put into it. It almost feels like when it comes to everything that we've been criticizing, like
Hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the next release, I'm pretty confident it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And or it'll be decent enough.
Hmm.
Whereas the Marvels that's coming out in the fall, as much as I'm personally looking forward to that one a lot, I am expecting it to kind of be Ant-Man like all over again. Like
Yeah.
I don't
That
know if
kind of
there's
feels like a wild card, at least on my end anyway. I'm like, because I watched Miss Marvel, and as far as that goes, it really only touches on that in the post credit or like at the very end or whatever with that one scene. Um, but yeah, I don't really know what to expect or what that exactly is setting up. Maybe it's just more like a case of kind of how She-Hulk and like Moon Knight were in
Mhm.
establishing these new characters more. I don't know how much they'll play into the overall plot of the MCU going forward. So we'll
She-Hulk
see.
better be
But
coming back.
oh, She-Hulk will come back for sure.
I think
She
they said
has
at
to
the end
come
of the
back.
show.
Yeah, they
Oh,
promised us at the end of the show they have to do
Yeah.
they had they didn't tease a feature though. It was just more of like a second
Well,
season.
they did make that like fourth wall joke of like
Mhm.
when am I getting my movie or whatever in the
Yeah.
like finale or
Mhm.
something. I don't remember what how that went exactly, but I don't I have zero doubts that we will not be seeing uh what's her name? Jessica Jessica? Jessica
Jones?
No, not Jessica Jones.
No.
What's her name?
Just
Um
Jennifer something?
eh,
She-Hulk.
eh,
Help me out here, guys.
Tatiana Maslany.
Jennifer Jennifer Walters.
Jennifer Walters, thank you. Jesus, Jessica. Oh my god.
Welcome to the MCU.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Uh,
Yeah, I think we'll see her again. But yeah, Guardians 3, I'm pretty confident. I'm like a little, I don't want to say skeptical, but like Guardians 2, I don't think, I hope it's not diminishing returns of like volume 1, 2, and 3. Like I hope it's at least on par with 2, but I'm hoping it'll be better than 2. Like I think it might have more emotional weight than 2, um, as far as what we've seen. So yeah, that's the next one that's more confident, and I'm pretty confident in Loki. I hope at least anyway that it'll kind of maybe hopefully address some of the errors that have been going on and some of the
Yeah.
questions.
mhm.
Um, yeah. Uh, all right. I think we're all kind of in the same boat. This is kind of a oneer for us. I can't imagine revisiting this anytime soon. Maybe when Kang Dynasty comes out, but that's a hard
Not
maybe.
even. Not
I feel like I
even.
might
Yeah.
just watch a YouTube recap, honestly. I don't feel
Yeah.
like I will say I appreciate it not being like it's like a minute over 2 hours, I think. So like
Yeah.
thank God for that at least. It's kind
Yes,
of a
I
low
was very
bar.
grateful that it was 2 hours and 5 minutes. I
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
exactly.
I was still checking my watch. I checked my watch at the hour mark and then the hour and a half mark.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, can't say I'll rewatch it anytime soon. It actually did make me want to rewatch Loki, though. Funny enough. Okay, one pro and one con. We'll end off with. Shay, you go first,
Hmm.
or maybe I'll go
My
first
biggest.
while you two think.
Yeah. Thank you.
My main pro, I think, was the final fight sequence between Scott and Kang and Hope. That had the most emotional weight and stakes at the end of the film, and it was not this big CGI fight. It was a very focused one-on-one battle, while they were like verbally and physically like fighting each other. And then my big con is that it just left me with more questions as to what's going to happen going forward. Shay, you good? You got some pros and cons?
My con overall, just
MODOK?
yeah, MODOK. I think MODOK really took it home for
B
me.
con?
Yeah, I don't need to go into that one much more. Pro, uh, I guess I did, as much as I was just criticizing it. It was nice to have an introduce like a new world, I guess.
Sure.
I think I'm pulling that on my ass though, because I wasn't in like this. I don't know. There was like a CGI fest, and like I wasn't. I just criticized the hell out of it. I'm pulling shit out of my ass at this point. Pro, it it it.
How about here? I'll feed you a pro. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer was definitely a pro, and it got me out of the house to go
There you
watch
go.
a movie. So there you
For what that's worth.
go.
Jake, how about you? Pro and con?
Pro, I will say Paul Rudd's comedic timing, and
Sure.
a con. I think the big con going forward is going to be the I'll call it the multiverse cop out.
Sure. Yeah.
If someone's
Hopefully.
going to die and like, oh, variant, you're back.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hope
definitely.
not. We'll see.
I'm getting
Just
really
because comics
tired of
are
that.
that ridiculous and out there doesn't mean the films need to be that out there.
Yeah.
I just feel like for the future of the MCU, any deaths or anything like that it's going to be watered down because now you have that thought: can they come back as a variant?
100%.
So that's that.
I love Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, but I am just counting the days until they're like, oh, she's not dead, variant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's,
Yeah.
Going to be a bit of a cop out. Yeah, I would say honestly, even if you are a diehard MCU fan, maybe like at the very most, wait for a cheap Tuesday or whatever your local market offers in terms of cheap tickets. If you're wanting to avoid spoilers for the film. But if you stuck around for this whole review and just found out about spoilers, then I definitely wouldn't recommend going to see this in the theater. I would say this is an absolute Disney Plus rewatch, or not rewatch, Disney Plus watch when it comes out in a few months. And yeah. So without further ado, that has been the NoScore review show. Jake, where can the people find you?
Letterbox.com /Sturkenboom. That's it. STURKENPOOM, as in what, Nick?
As in Sturkenboom Live, where you can also find him on twitch.tv/Sturkenboom.
I haven't been live in a very long time, but what I was looking for was boom as an explosion.
Okay. Boom as an explosion. There you
boom
go.
As an
we'll work on that
explosion.
timing off camera.
Yeah. Just I got links on the Letterbox, since we're talking about movies. Letterbox, #1 place to go for that stuff.
Yes. Cannot recommend Letterbox enough. And while you're there, go follow Jake. And go follow Shay, because that's also where the people can find you, right, Shay?
That is correct. Letterboxd.com/Shay Martin and Shay Martin Media on Instagram. Those are my two things.
Excellent. Jake, do you have a recommendation at all? Music, TV, book, show?
Book?
I don't know. If you read.
Book. Recommendation. I know I went off the board with the Batman Arkham series last time.
It's a good recommendation, to be fair.
I'll recommend.
You don't have to recommend. I only offer it as an option. You don't have to.
No, I need to
recommend
give
it.
one. Go watch
Gotcha.
Bow. I watched Bow last week and cried my eyes out. The saddest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So does that not play before Coco by default on Disney Plus? Because I think that was the short before Coco, was it not?
You can watch it separately on Disney Plus now. It's 8 minutes long, and it'll give you 10 times the emotional investment that you could get in 2 hours of watching Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Very, very good movie.
Shay,
short film.
Do you have any recommendations?
Haven't seen a lot of great stuff coming out recently, but one thing I did watch the other night that actually brought a smile to my face was Come On with Joaquin Phoenix, that A24 film.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's worth a couple hours.
Nice.
It's good.
Come On with Joaquin Phoenix. Excellent. And in terms of plugs for me, you can stay right here wherever you're listening to or watching the NoScore review show. I have more reviews on the way. We're trying to figure out if we're going to do a Cocaine Bear review
Yes.
coming up.
Actually.
And then March is also going to be filled with reviews as well. If you're part of the Jonathan Majors fan club, then stick around for the Creed 3 review, because that is definitely going to be coming to the channel.
Oh,
I'll do it by myself if I have to. Cocaine Bear is out.
It's out. Okay.
What?
Just keep it locked here on the NoScore YouTube channel or your favorite podcast listening services for new episodes. Go follow me on Instagram and or TikTok or Twitter or Facebook. I'll be starting to upload more like TikTok, Instagram Reels type videos for little bits and clips of past shows and future shows. And then I will also do a little bit of a shameless plug / recommendation. A little indie game called Blanc, Blanc.
Blanc.
It is a black and white 2D art style. Well, it's like, was it 2D or was it like 3? I think it's actually a 3D game, but it's like all 2D hand-drawn art. It's all black and white, and it's about this deer fawn and this wolf cub who meet in the wilderness and have to help each other find their way home to their families. It's very cute. It's very relaxing and calm. It's even got some like heart-wrenching emotional beats in the game if you're into that sort of thing. And if you don't
saw that on TikTok this morning, that game,
it's
I was like,
a beautiful
this is cute.
game.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
And if you're not interested in playing the game yourself, you can go to my secondary YouTube channel, NoScore Plays, where I will have a 3-video Let's Play of it coming out, either as this video has uploaded or soon after. So yeah, that has been the NoScore Review Show. Jake, Shay, thank you again so much for joining me, my resident MCU experts, fans. And thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.